The Apple Insight: How a Moment with an Apple Tree Helped Me Quickly Shift from Despair to Creative Flow, by Justin Perkins. Read by Hatef Yamini. Step 1: Coming to my senses. So there I was on a beautiful fall day near Boulder, Colorado in 2020, lying on my back, staring at the sky from a picnic table in a park. Despite the gorgeous sunny day, my internal weather was a raging tornado. I looked to the peaceful blue sky for a way out of the quagmire I found myself in. It did not deliver. My business had failed a year earlier after a decade of effort creating a beautiful snack brand from scratch and then scaling it to distribution in thousands of stores. The fallout from a business failure is very complex and it affected all aspects of my life. It went from dream come true to nightmare come true. Taking a deep breath, I dragged my spinning mind and heavy heart off the table and back across the serene, grassy park to face my fate. Suddenly, a pungent, vinegary sweet smell of rotting apples woke me up from this hellish rumination. My body involuntarily stopped as a lightning bolt of nostalgic excitement shot through my belly. Looking for the source of the smell, I noticed a lone apple tree with ripe apples still hanging from the branches. A pleasant feeling started brewing inside of me, disrupting the persistent acidity of fear that had gripped me for months. I had wonderful memories of other beautiful fall days flash in my mind. In stark contrast, this feeling felt like the possibility of being alive again, and I liked this precious feeling. So I decided to stay and savor it as long as I could. My eyes zoomed in on a shining red apple backlit by the bright midday sun. As my attention shifted to my senses, I fell further into a free fall of wonder. This felt good in my body, and the unconscious tension I'd been storing in my shoulders from a decade of sustained stress melted a little. As I gazed at this ordinary apple tree in this state of wonder, the space between my thoughts opened up. The nagging negative voice in my head died down. Step 2: The alchemical process of insight. A spontaneous and vivid visualization occurred in my mind's eye. The full cycle of the tree's life, from seed to fruit and back to dirt, unfolded like a movie. Then, a clear insight exploded in my head. Just a few weeks ago, these apples were still sour. They weren't yet ready to be harvested. Some never ripened fully, and some will never be picked. They will fall back into the earth. This powerful symbolic message from the subconscious mind moved me deeply. A mysterious balm of hope and peace started to unfold in my mind, followed by a wave of gratitude vibrating in my chest and throat, and then a warm and peaceful feeling enveloped my whole body. I realized we're no different from apple trees. In my case, I could see that I had a lot more growing to do. This business was just one of an infinite number of potential seeds that were still germinating inside of me. This temporary setback I had been seeing as a failure was a necessary, if not essential, part of the cycle of my learning journey and creative growth. Step 3: The decomposition of attachment. Looking down at the scattered and rotting apples decomposing on the moist ground, I noticed a lone wasp hovering over one of the fallen, decaying fruits. I could vividly hear the subtle buzzing sound of its wings as it fed on the rotting apple and did its job in the circle of life. As I digested this full-body insight, the intense vinegar smell that interrupted my negative internal dialogue once again seduced my attention. Even the discarded fruit is useful. From this present state, everything slowed down, and I couldn't wait to create something new. I was centered again. I remembered my innocence. The flow was back. The obsession with this one business that was consuming most of my energy and holding me in the past could finally stop. Step 4. Embodying the transformational power of insight. It took a couple of years to embody this insight, to live into it, and to trust it, to believe it. Now I own it. Looking back, I can now see the breakdown of my business fertilize the soil for the work I do today, coaching other entrepreneurs as they navigate their intense creative journeys. My worst nightmare became my superpower, and it's hard to even think of losing my business as a failure anymore. In fact, the word failure doesn't really even make sense to me, except to describe the temporary state of a dynamic system that's evolving in a never-ending creative process. However, the biggest return on investment from my business journey might have been this even deeper insight about the nature of identity. Any sense of identity invested in a business, or anything you do or have, causes suffering. It's a trap if you invest your heart in the wrong place. If this weren't true, then everyone who sold a business for a profit would be satisfied and happy. Today, I find that my sense of suffering vanishes every moment when I manage to relax the fist-like grip of my mind towards anything. My negative self-beliefs, being accepted, a relationship, a client, an injury, money, a project. When I remember to let go, I've noticed repeatedly that there's a falling back into a natural, neutral state, or homeostasis. And that clarity and balanced state often leads to a falling in love with what's actually happening right now. This process is my best attempt to capture what happened to me spontaneously and instantaneously with the apple tree. We all have the potential to relax and move on, to create without judgment. Step 5. Creating with freedom of being. The moment you really understand your identity is whole and intact, regardless of circumstances or what you do, you're free. How you're being, or where you're coming from, in relationship with your experience is what matters. Now, a few years into creating my new life and business, I'm learning to keep it light and not confuse my identity with outcomes that are inevitably only temporary anyway. I'm still intense as hell, and there seems to be a high rate of productivity. However, I notice my life and work are more like a laboratory of creative experiments, coming from a deep desire to express harmony instead of trying to prove I'm worthy. This frees up a ton of energy to iterate and create forward. With every cell of my body, instead of recreating the undesired past experience over and over and over and over, I tend to recover faster and create more of what I want from an infinite well of possibility, with less shame, less attachment, more enjoyment, and more hope. I can't wait to see what happens next, and I spend a lot more time gratefully noticing apple trees and everything else on this extraordinary planet when I manage to pop out of the voice in the head and reconnect with life. What I learned quite viscerally from the gift of losing my business is that life and satisfaction, or despair for that matter, are an inside job. Let me say that again, only louder. Happiness and satisfaction, or despair, are an inside job. They're just temporary states, created moment by moment, through your relationship with yourself and how you apply your unique creative powers to engage with life. If you see how this system works inside of you, you might also see that you are so powerful you can create a heavenly experience or a hellish experience at any moment.